So what I would like to do next is introduce our next speaker, Alison, who I have had the pleasure of working with throughout quite a few organizations now, which is really, really wonderful. But the benefit of working with Alison through many different organizations is that I know her well, and I know that she can really deliver to us an insight on what an organization can do in practice. So Alison is the Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Advisor at Shaw Trust, which is a social purpose organization challenging inequality and breaking down barriers to enable social mobility. With over a decade working across sectors in HR, she comes to us with an impressive experience of supporting people to perform at their best. She's also just an extremely wonderful human being. And if you have a chance to grab a coffee with this woman, do so. So over to you, Alison. Thank you so much for coming today.
Okay, great. So as it says, I'm Alison Shomade. I'm the Shaw Trust Equality, Diversity, Inclusion Advisor, and I test you to do that if you're dyslexic as well, to get all those words around, because part of dyslexia is also being able to pronounce words. So at Shaw Trust, we are here to just ensure that everybody, regardless of their lived experiences or life situations, has equal access to work. And so we're all about the social mobility and ensuring that we break down all those barriers. So we have a strategic directive at Shaw Trust, and people are at the heart of what we do. So we are inclusive, but I also do like, and I probably will still with pride, you know, we are embracing everybody. But I also like being positively inclusive as well as also thinking about your unconscious bias when we're being inclusive. So I'm not going to read it word for word, but basically, in a nutshell, we want people who think and feel differently. And if you think and feel differently, you are still equal. You're still welcome to our party. We want you here. And we're committed to make sure that our workforce represents the people that we support and look after. So we look at those demographics, and we should be mirroring what our how we are supporting our people. So we don't want to have any of those artificial barriers. So, you know, we know what a barrier is. If you're a wheelchair user and you're coming into a building, we know that steps are a barrier. So we can see that. But artificial barriers are a bit more about what you can't see. So that nepotism, or, you know, that, oh, my dad's here and therefore he's going to get me in, and there I am, cracked it, I've got my internship. Or, you didn't go to uni, you're not in here. So it doesn't matter how you got to where you got to, but we're there, and we want to break those ceilings and barriers down. And then when we do see that it's probably not quite where we want it to be, we can note it, own it, and then take some positive action. And then people come into work and we want them to be their true, authentic selves. We need to provide that safe space. So we have and provide safe spaces in our workforce, especially as those protective characteristics. So that is the heart of what our strategic directive needs to be doing and wants to be doing. Chris Whitty, next slide, thank you. Okay, next little click. Here's a story about me, because I just feel like I feel comfortable at this party. I was involved in the planning of it as well, and my needs have been taken into consideration. So, you know, my buffet has got the diet that I want and the music's being played. So I feel comfortable in this space. So at school, I was called the rubber queen, because I continually rubbed my work out and it was continually messy. That really made me feel actually not that great. I didn't do GCSEs, I was doing my CSEs back in the day. And to be perfectly honest, I didn't take them. My mum took them for me, because she did all of that for me. She did all my assignments and wrote them out. She was a teacher, and at the time I thought, that is amazing, thank you very much, Mum. But looking back, if I'm really honest, it probably just disempowered me and made me feel not so great. So, you know, came from a good place, but maybe not. I'm an HR professional, as Sarah mentioned, and been in various jobs throughout HR. The beginning of HR is quite transactional. So that was okay. I was doing it, but I had to work so hard at making sure I didn't put an extra naught in somebody's salary on an offer letter. So it had to be read by other people. You know, I went in a corner and read my work out loud so I could hear it, printing it, going back, typing it again, printing it again, going back, reading it again. And I often would work late just to get my job done. I moved into being a PA, and then some of my skills started to pop out, you know, bringing people together, problem solving, being creative around about a problem and trying to sort those things out. So I started to get, oh, hang on a minute, there's bits about me that actually are quite a good strength, really. I was made redundant, I was quite like angry, that whole change wave thing about why me, and then suddenly it was like, oh, wow, light bulb moment here. First time in my life, I've got the luxury of time and money. Doesn't often go together. So I went back to college to reset my GCSEs, and I got called to student support. So I'm back at school now thinking, oh no, what have I done wrong? But cut a long story short, turned out that I'm dyslexic, and that was 2 years ago. So it was the final piece of the jigsaw puzzle for me to go, that is why I always think differently from everybody else. That is why I have to literally parrot write things to get them into my brain, because I was thinking that I was taught how to learn in a particular way. So that really, really helped me. Went and became an HR project manager at Tate Galleries, absolutely in my element, hop, skip and a jump, and I'm in the galleries, looking at all the amazing artwork, creativity, really lovely, great kind of environment, and the right environment for me as well. Unfortunately, COVID came, and so I was kind of like back out there searching for another job, and became a business manager in the civil service in a private office. And working with a director general who reported directly into the Perm Sec. So it was incredibly fast paced, which I loved. Lots of problems, which I like solving. Lots of things that needed to be tidied up and put in order and a process. Tick, tick, tick. What wasn't so great was the shape that was made for me before I got there. And then when I got there, I tried really hard for 9 months to fit this shape. But it was really, I just couldn't do it because it wasn't me. I was trying to be somebody, I wasn't me. Now, most people with a neurodivergent condition, if you like, or however we're going to describe it, are quite creative. So we needed to do some team building. So there I was, let's use the whiteboard. We can do this and we can use that. And my line managers just went, no, 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 we're not using that. We're going to use a spreadsheet. So I'm out, checked out, don't want to do it. And I wasn't fitting the spreadsheet shape. So I actively made my mind up to go and move somewhere else. And luckily, I ended up where I am now in Shore Trust, which I can honestly say does feel, as much as work can, feel like home. So that's where we are. Okay, so next slide, please. So thanks. So Maria, you touched on neurodiversity, but basically I liked this from the Brain Charity. It's just that, you know, people naturally think about things differently, have different interest motivators, and sometimes we're better at some things and we're not so good at others. Maybe more in neurodiversity, we call it like a spiky. So you'll be brilliant at something and then you're going to not be great at something else. And it was pretty obvious. So next slide. So here we go. We've got a legal obligation under the Equality Act 2010. I'm sure most of you here know what that is, but just to check in, those are your protective characteristics. Next click, please. Okay, so there we go. There's a person who has a disability or physical or mental impairment, which is substantial or long-term, and it affects that person to carry out normal daily activities. So that does include neurodiversity. You have it, you know, it's not going anywhere, it's with you. So we do need to look and make reasonable adjustments in the workplace and take that into consideration. Next slide, please. So this is a bit of a case study that we had with John. Obviously changed his name, changed his age, but was with the organisation for 5 years. So if we can do the next click, please. So his performance was not great. He was kind of like, his performance wasn't great. So he was for maybe not behaving appropriately at a meeting, not being that filtering when he was given feedback, didn't really agree with the process. And if it didn't work, then he just said, that's not working. So we had a number of disciplinaries. And it went on and on and on. It just wasn't, you know, it wasn't healthy for him. It wasn't healthy for the workplace. So we went to occupational health. Here he got diagnosed and he's got ADHD. And that's the first time that he found out in his 57 years that he had a neurodivergent condition. So with that, we got assessed and it was quantified. And with that, we did some assessments with him, and we used Access to Work. So Access to Work will do assessments for you. Because how do you know what you need if you don't know what you've got and where you're going with it? So if you go and complete a work, go into Access to Work, then they'll be able to help you and assess you, and then start putting in some of these actions, coming back to the organisation, and then we'll implement those things in. Now, to save John, whenever he moves around, we've created a workplace adjustment passport. So the workplace adjustment passport will have all of these listed down, and then he can carry that around with him, and he doesn't have to keep explaining again and again what's going on. So best practice here is, do you know what? Have a conversation. It sounds so simple, but just have the conversation. Hey, you know, like, how are you feeling? What's going on? I've noticed this. Oh, what's the best way? And the clue is in the manager. Line manager is managing. It's not one size that fits all. You know, different people work different ways. So let's find out. Let's think about that party. How can I make this party make you feel you want to get up, kick your shoes off and dance on the shapes on the floor? How can we do that and help you and make it there? We raised line manager awareness by, as before, you could be in a meeting, somebody's not making eye contact. They're not being rude, they just don't do that. They just don't make eye contact. But what are the ways of working? Do you want to start later? Flexible working? Do you need to be away from a coffee machine? Do you need to be away from bright lights? Do you want your headphones in? Do you want your own private room? Kind of, if it's available, allow extra time. Now, hard to pronounce words. So I can't pronounce some of my words and I'll get tongue-tied. I've been judged on that to think that I'm not particularly intelligent because I can't spell and I can't get my words out. So allow that space. The people that interrupt as well, you'll be in flow and they will just come straight in and interrupt. They don't mean to do it. It's just they're excited. It just comes out. So take a deep breath, listen to their ideas, because that will be the golden nugget. That will be the thing that you're trying to make your piece of work extra special. The workplace adjustment passport, we did this form and it was wonderful and we felt super proud. People weren't filling it out. So I kind of reached out and going, hey, what's happening? And they said, I fill that form out and it goes all over the place. With a neurodivergent condition, I don't want to do it. I'm not doing it. And I don't know what happens to it. So what we've done now is a lovely, neat PDF that doesn't move and you can type in. Such a simple thing, but removing those barriers. Make sure it's accessible and formatted. Next little click. So we've got a peer support group here, particularly, it came out of the Disability Network group, and we had just a session on people talking about hidden disabilities, and the momentum grew for neurodiversity. So we now have a peer support group for that group, and they meet once a month. They share how they're feeling, maybe some challenges, maybe they might talk about the performance management review that's coming out, but just general, like, informal chats, helping each other, sharing. Quiet spaces, as I said, away from the light, headphones. Ask them, talk to people, like, you are there to help them. And if you can make that reasonable adjustment, then we can easily do it. And often reasonable adjustments aren't that expensive. We have a fear of, like, oh God, this is going to be so expensive, but they're not. They're just having that conversation, coming up with an agreement, having it noted so it can go around with that person all the time, and then continually reviewing it, maybe over a 6-month period. It's a live document.